Hulkster. You and your big, dumb mouth. So either Hulk Hogan's been fired or he's resigned from the WWE. Well, he was only the middle judge and Tough Enough, so I guess they'll find somebody else for next week. Why? He's kind of in part of a lawsuit with the Gawker to stop them from releasing footage from years ago. I believe this is a post-coitus conversation that he had where he used a certain derogatory term repeatedly. Now, we have to look at this in three different parts. Part is the use of said term, just in general. Part two is the context of the use of said term. And part three, of course, is how the E is reacting to it. The word in question has been used by Booker T on live television and Vince McMahon on live television. When Booker T said it, if you watch Botchamania, you know this clip by heart. Up to the time before this video, you could find it on the network because OSW and Botchamania actually found the clip. And the moment Booker T finishes saying it, he turns his head and he's like, well, I'm done. And Booker T has said it is the darkest moment in his entire career. Vince McMahon used it as a moment of comedy. Booker T is also there because he does the, tell me I didn't just hear that. I think it was, or tell me he didn't just say that. Booker T, still employed by the E. Vince McMahon didn't fire himself because he's not going to. So how was it used? The initial story was he was recounting stories that he had while working with other rappers. I'm trying to picture Hulk Hogan and rappers, where, you know, they're cool with him, so he uses it. He occasionally used it while talking about the Booker T incident. This is not the material in question. Around the time he had his sex tape, there's another sequence afterwards where he's discussing Brooke dating a black guy. When Booker T said it, and he immediately regretted it. He was like, oh man, he got caught up in the moment, he said it, and he regretted it. Vince McMahon said it in a comedic aspect. I've read the transcript, and the transcript is kind of like, you know, I'm not racist. Well, everyone's a little bit racist, but man, I hope Brooke isn't with it. And it's boom, next statement, boom, next statement, boom. So it's not like he said it once. It's there multiple times. We're making sure, you know, he has a fear of his daughter essentially being with and marrying somebody of that ilk. It's hard to tell if he's generalizing all black people or if he's describing it as a very specific, less desirable subset of that race. Either way, it's identical to the guy who had the Clippers, where it was a private conversation where he threw the word out way too many times. It was way too casual when it came to using it, and it ruined his career. Reports have put this at anywhere between, 2002 and 2007. Those are the times that I've heard. I've heard people say it was 13 years ago. Other reports said it was, it was 8 years ago. So either way, it was more likely during the time when he was with TNA. He had a 6-year absence before he came back to the E. So this is probably during that time. So, 1. This is a word that should not be used. I'm not saying ban it, no, because that's stupid. Then you lose all the teachable moments you have when it comes to that word. It does have historical significance. You can use it in that context. You can use it if you're quoting somebody who has used it. It's not like I'm expecting songs to be like, if you're DMX's song, they remixed it. What's it called? My People. Oh. I'm not expecting every single person to replace it with the word people. That's okay. It's used a lot. we need to begin the process of probably using it less. Context. Louis C.K. got away with using it. Why? He did it as a joke. Vince McMahon kind of got a pass because he was old, crazy, white guy Vince McMahon. And it was done in joking context. Hogan used a more spiteful context. The word itself has no power. It doesn't. It's the context of the word that really truly gives its power. So, Hogan did a dumb thing. It was done years ago. It's now being revealed. This is the problem with social media. If you did something and it's recorded, doesn't matter how long it happened, the moment it shows up, it becomes a firestorm and that's it. Now, part 3. He's left the E. The E has pretty much Benoit him. He's not in the Hall of Fame section. They've removed the Axelmania bit from Curtis Axel. That's why if you go to his Superstar page, a couple days ago they had him in the red and yellow. Now he's back to pre-Axelmania Axel. I think they removed all of his merchandise. I was playing WWE Immortals where they had 2 Hulk Hogan characters, Renegade and Beach Basher. I haven't seen them. I don't think they would have had enough time to try to remove them from the game. You know, he was there sporadically because he hasn't been truly unlocked and released yet. He might not be now. There's a chance they'll be in the process of removing him from future games. And I think that's kind of a really big push when it's like, oh, you did this years ago, so now we're removing you entirely. I know that's more of the, we have to brace for the backlash. It does kind of seem like it's overkill. I could see having the Curtis Axel bit removed, and I could see having him removed from Tough Enough. You know, if he decided to resign, I could see him removed from Tough Enough. But he's every place else that's not the WWE. And there are people who still work for the E that have had multiple allegations of racial misconduct. Yes, I still believe the WWE itself is not racist because it's a company. You can have racist individuals within a company. It does not make the company racist. So, Hogan, you burned Vince during the steroid scandal. You burned him when you went to WCW. And you tried to run Vince out of business. You burned the E and the fans again when you went to TNA. You tried to think that you and Bischoff could reignite the Monday Night Wars. And now your past has come back to hurt you again. He has apologized for it. You'd almost think that if you would have done something years ago, it was potentially part of the lawsuit that he was trying to block from showing up. Would it have been better if he would have known this was happening, he would have gotten in front of it and said, hey, I did this, here was the time, put more context to it. You know, if it could have been at a time where he's like, I was going through a divorce, is that and the other thing, I had other things going on, and this was just an off-the-cuff, series of comments. He could have done damage control beforehand instead of just going with the lawsuit. And it might have, if he would have gotten in front of it, it might have lessened some of the overall impact of it. It's still one of those, when people talk about we're post-racism, well, we're not. We're never going to be post-racism. Because a moment like this shows up, and it's like, well, you said these comments, hurtful, spiteful, and the E was kind of like, be a star. We got to make sure that we don't have anything that people can use against us, even though this seems like it was done at a time when he was not working for the E. So I don't see how this could really reflect negatively on the E directly, but they decided to kind of go overboard and entirely remove him from everything. Of course, Hogan is still alive, so who knows what the future holds for him.